So we've showed you how to build a cabinet, a face frame, doors. Now it's on to a drawer. Very simple, easy technology that I'm going to show you how to do it next. Hey, I'm Jeff Devlin of Schoolhouse Woodworking. I'm a licensed contractor, woodworker. We named our company Schoolhouse Woodworking many, many years ago because the goal was to teach. Wow, that's nice. It's not always the perfect method, but it's a way that I've learned over the 30 years doing this that I believe sometimes simpler is better. All right, so to build a drawer, there's a couple of different ways you can do it. We're going to do the simplest method possible today. We're going to pocket hole it all together. The nice thing is you'll never see the pocket holes. This is what we're going to create. We are going to do it a lot nicer than this. This was just a shop-built drawer for one of our cabinetry that we just tacked together. We're going to use pocket hole technology to put it all together. And on top of it, we want our clients to have that extra little added oomph, if you will. Notice the oomph. And we're going to use black walnut plywood. It's black walnut on both sides. So that way it'll look beautiful. For that opening over there, we know we're 21 inches wide. So let me break out my fancy paper and start drawing for you. So because the opening is 21 inches wide, it will depend on what hardware you choose, will depend on how big your drawer is in the opening. So if this is your drawer, the width of your drawer will depend on what you use. In this case, we're using a Blum hardware, and I'm sorry to start throwing out the model numbers, but this is called the 563F. The reason why you have that F is the F is for 3/4 inch drawer slides. So the sides of the drawer, because we're using 3/4 inch plywood, this F detail means it's for 3/4 of an inch. There's also 563H, and that is for 1/2 inch to 5/8 material. Now, I know that gets a little bit way too far and too fast, I guess, whatever you want to say, but if you're going to go with something a little less, you can use these side mount drawer slides. Truth be told, these do work. They mount right to the side of the door or the drawer like so. Now, the distance between that drawer and the side now is different. This is a 1/2 inch for these. So check out what hardware you're going to use first and decide on the slides before you make your drawer. I cannot stress that enough. So looking from above, this is what I am making, right? So that's a top view. 21 inches minus 7/16 of an inch equals 0. That's the first time that's ever happened. 21 inches minus 7/16 of an inch. I know you people at home are being like, I already know that, is 20 and 9/16. That is our overall dimension from this side of the drawer to that side of the drawer. So that's our finished side. But however, we are going to run the plywood just like this all the way to the back and all the way to the back. So we need to subtract the thickness of these two pieces. So now I've got two pieces of plywood representing the left side and the right side. Look, I'm not the greatest mathematician in the world, but if I hold the two pieces together, I grab my tape measure, because quite honestly, none of these pieces of plywood are really truly 3/4 of an inch. They always vary slightly. So for us, we're going to put our tape on there, and we are at 1 inch and 7/16. So we'll go back to our math over here. 1 inch and 7/16. So we have our overall at 20 and 9/16, right? So let's grab our tape measure out again, because we're starting to get into this math crazy. And 9/16, right? And we're subtracting 1 inch and 7/16 for the thickness of each side, and our total is 19 and 1/8. So that 19 and 1/8 is what the dimension of this center piece of wood is right here. This piece and this piece. It is crucial to do the math correctly. If you don't do the math correctly at this point,
you're going to find yourself that the drawer does not fit in the opening appropriately and doesn't work the way it's supposed to work. So 19 1/8, I'm going to start cutting all my pieces. The height will dictate whatever height you chose over there. In this case, we have 5 inches between. We're going to make it at 4.5 inches tall. So 4.5 inches slivers. And our length, because we have a 24-inch deep cabinet, and again, sorry about the math, it's a 21-inch overall deep drawer. So 21 inches to front to back for an inset for it to work with these hinges. Every bit of hardware is different. You're not locked into depth as far as the side mounts go for the most part because there's nothing for it to click to, whereas the undermounts actually will ride underneath and need to pin into the hole in the back. Hopefully this is making sense. If not, you've already unsubscribed and gone on to somebody else. Voila. So now that I've got my pieces cut, I'll go a little, this is inset. I can check it really quick and take my tape. Anybody remember the measurement from the outside? Go 20 and 9/16. So I am good and I can go ahead and do the grooves. Now, for the hardware that we have, you can't just tack this underneath like this and just tack it to the bottom of the drawer. I mean, I guess you could make a drawer like that, but that's kind of ugly and gross and it'll fall apart at some point. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a little groove in our plywood to allow this bottom panel to float in and to lock in place. So you could go set up a dado blade, but quite honestly, I find that this method is much, much easier. So what I do is I roll this all the way down. I have this little block that I love, or this little kit. It's a setup gauge kit, and what it is I can actually check the height of my blade by dropping it down on top and then raising it up so it just kisses. And then right when it starts to lift, or see the way it starts to twist a little bit, you can see the way right there? It goes up. I want to just drop it right down. Then that way I know I'm exactly at 3/8 of an inch. The reason why I go 3/8 of an inch is because it's halfway through the plywood. So then I can set my fence at 1/2 of an inch, and then I just start running the pieces. It only cuts through just half of the plywood. Voila. You can see that little detail. I'm going to run each piece through once. So now we've got that first groove. Now, if you had a dado blade, you could actually do it in one pass, but I don't. I always find it much easier to just take this and take my piece and then just sort of tap the fence over just a little bit. Just going to give it a little tap to the right and take out a little bit more material, and then just work our way up to the thickness of the bottom panel. Make sure she fits, and she's got to have a little bit of wiggle room, just a little. Now I dented this, so I don't want to use that end, but there it is. It fits nice, so it's nice and strong. All right. Now, if I want to cut the panel, I can, and because I know that my center is 19 1/8, and I've got a 3/8 gap
on either side. If you were to add 3/4 of an inch to that, you'd be at 19 5/8. So I'll go just under, maybe 19 1/2, just to make sure I have enough width. It's always good to pile stuff up on your table saw. Just really, it's healthy. Feels right. Voila. So my panel's ready to go. My drawer's ready to go. So before I get, stop. Oh, it worked. So now I've got all my pieces cut, and I could go on to joinery, but I don't want to assemble it just yet. I want to cover these unsightly top plywood edges. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a walnut veneer. So I'm going to wrestle up all my pieces, and I'll meet you over at the iron. And no, we're not doing my shirts. This is veneer tape. It is pre-glued, so it's sticky on the back. It's not sticky yet. So I'm going to take it and I'm going to get close. I'm going to oversize it a little bit, and I'm just going to snap it with my hand, push it out of the way. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply this to the top of the drawer sides. And the reason is because, again, I'm covering that edge. I think it looks really nice, and it's very, very simple to do. Now I've got my iron. It's very hot. It's how I shave in the morning. You warm up your follicles. Just are going to push down. What I do is I hold my finger in the middle to hold it down, and then I use my other 2 fingers on either side to center the veneer in the opening, and then I just slowly push the iron. Slowly push the iron. And you are applying pressure. Mine was already nice and hot, and then you just keep going down the line until you get to the end. I normally hover at the end for a second. So what this is doing is it's activating the glue. Can you see the way it's starting to fuzz up a little bit? And it's sticky. Now it's sticky. It's a heat-activated glue. So we just run the iron back and forth down the edge. Now we take our roller, which this is just called a J roller. I guess it's like that. You can tell because it looks like a J. And you just roll it out. And all this is doing is spreading that glue down and setting it. Really simple. Flip it over. I just use a utility knife. I lay it flat on my piece, and I just use the utility knife, score it like so, come over, bend it like that, and then it's a clean cut right on that end. And then I do the same thing on the other side. Lay it flat, and then trim it on that side, and then it's nice and flush on that side as well. Now, you have the little issue that this is about 7/8 of an inch thick. So it's wider than our 3/4 inch. So this goes back into the vise, and I got one of these. This is like a laminate trimmer, but it has, I don't know if you can even see, it's got cutters on both sides going both ways. So you can use it a million different ways as Sunday. You can use it this way, or this way, or this way, or this way. Or, anyway, you can use it a lot of different ways. So all you do, and it's spring-loaded. So see the way it clamps down? So you can do material that's a little bit wider. In this case, you line it up on the edge, you clamp it. Now you don't have to push it so hard that you're going to break your knuckles or hand, and then you just slowly push, and you can see it trims off that edge. Now sometimes it leaves a little bit of a fuzzy, so we just come back with a very light grit sandpaper and clean up that edge a little bit, and voila. Now you can't tell it looks like a solid piece of wood. There's a little bit of sanding to do to clean it up as the glue is squeezing out, but I'm not going to do the sanding until the glue sets. So it looks like a solid piece of walnut without that cost, and it's very, very stable and easy to work with. Now I just got to do a couple more. So for the joinery, for those inner pieces or the middle pieces, we're going to use pocket holes. I got my fancy pants machine here that drills them very quickly at an angle. If you don't have them, they do make a little small kit. But the nice thing about this is it hides it completely. So when you have your face on it, you'll never see these screws, ever. Time to assemble. So now I use a little bar clamp. Not a little bar clamp, a bar clamp. I do not want to spill my coffee. It's very important. I hold it up about halfway. There's all sorts of angle jigs that you can use to get this going. I just like to start it right there. Lift it up just a little bit, clamp it, and you can see, and I can work from this side as well. I just want it flush across the front, and I want to make sure it's flush across the top. If it's not, then your groove will be off on the other side. So now I'm going to take my pocket screws and run them in. Notice the screws are on the back side of the box, not on the inside. So now I've got one side done. Flip it over. Now's the moment of truth. So now I can slide my panel in. Oh, yeah, that's it. She should slide down nice. Voila. Nice and tight, but loose enough so that you have a little wiggle room. I can put the top on. Now the same thing. Just put the clamp in the middle. Give it a little wackadoo to make sure it's flush. The drawer, she is done. And she looks like solid walnut all the way around. I already cut a face so you can see the pockets now, but when the face goes on, you can't see those pocket screws. You can't see them in the back because when it's in there, it's hidden. So that's a really, really simple, easy way to build a drawer. And the nice thing is it's really strong, and this will last you forever. So in the next video, I'm going to show you actually how to mount the drawer with the hardware that we've selected because nobody ever showed me. And I feel like it's just my responsibility. I'll show you how to do it.